Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 The Krishna book the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this book there are 90 chapters. It's about his pastimes, his actions that brings liberation. So we are reading the chapter number 46. Uddhava visits Vrindavana. So by the 19th chapter, we're supposed to get liberation. If you don't get liberation, no one is to blame. Everything is in here in order to achieve it. So that's how all these holy scriptures are offered to us. It's also very important the way we practice it. A lot of things still depend on us, on our desires. If just tell generally, a soul does not have any material desires. It's like something that we have imposed, just like sleep. All that you do while sleeping, you probably had never planned while you are active. But different things happen during your sleep because a lot of things are just imposed on you. You don't even know how to cope with bad dreams, with nightmares. So we go to a psychologist or a doctor and tell him that every night I have nightmares. Not very often do I see good, colorful dreams. Usually my dreams are very turbulent, worrying. So that's because of the contact with the material nature. That's how you can feel it while dreaming, while sleeping. Matter of fact, of course, we don't have this desire to see these nightmares. No one has such desires among our normal people. No one of us wants to be a rascal. But due to the contact with the material nature, it happens because of the illusion. Demons, they're proud of their position. Even rascals, they're proud to be on such a level because they're being illusioned. And the soul, it does not have such desires, and it has never had such desires. So Bhagavad Gita is a quintessence of all Vedic knowledge. So in Mahabharata or other some Puranas, this topic is opened more widely, but in Bhagavad Gita, it's just a short story about it. It says that you cannot see this soul, but it doesn't have any desires. So when we start having these material desires, that's the moment when we are just looking at something, and then we get attached to the things we see, like lust, and there's no way to overcome lust. No one, you see, no one had planned to have lust. By just looking at the material nature, by just one glance, it just mesmerizes us. It puts a spell on us. Just one short glance is enough when Maya starts mesmerizing you, enchanting you. So when you search material world, you get into the world of illusions. And it seems like I know something because I've already studied physics, chemistry, I know how the seasons of the year change, I even know what's happening in the solar system. But you are researching, studying the illusory world. So by just watching the material world, you already get into the illusion. There's no way you can overcome it. So once we're there, we understand that that's the world where I live. It happens instantly, and soul doesn't have anything in common with this material world. So you see, this machine, the illusion, is a very complicated thing. And in order to overcome it, there are many methods. Very long ones that take a lot of time to get out of illusion. But also there's a short way. It depends on your desires. Krishna's pastimes are described specifically for this purpose. to get liberated. What does Krishna do in this illusory world? He is emanating the reality of his pastimes. Even if we see Krishna while dreaming, while sleeping, this is reality. Even when you chant Krishna's names, this is reality, beyond illusion. His pastimes, his form, no matter where he is, either in material or spiritual world, he's all behind it. So if it's a dream, it's not our dream, it's his dream. And he can actually enter this dream as a reality. This is amazing. It's a divine thing, it's just incomprehensible. You don't even understand. We can't understand how he enters this world without even having contact with the illusory energy. So that is kind of the book about Krishna. That's how much it is powerful. For the neophytes, or people that just starting their spiritual practice, this book will also be very interesting, even for children, for any kind of, for any age, for people of any age. The description of these pastimes is extremely amazing. It's extremely attracting. So, chapter 46, Uddhava visits Vrindavana. So Krishna has already left Vrindavana. It's already been described the way it had happened, and all the activities that were following. You see, the point is that Krishna cannot actually leave any place because he's all-pervading. He is limitless. He's everywhere, always. Any place, any apartment, any living entity, any atom, everything is pierced by Krishna. But here it says Krishna is leaving Vrindavana, so this is a definite game. And here it describes the way it happened. So Nanda Maharaja returned to Vrindavana without Krishna and Balaram. He was accompanied only by the cowherd boys and men. It was certainly a very pathetic scene for the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Shrimati Radharani, and all the other residents of Vrindavana. Many devotees have tried to make adjustments to Krishna's being away from Vrindavana, because, according to expert opinion, Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, never goes even a step out of Vrindavana. He always remains there. The explanation of expert devotees is that Krishna was actually not absent from Vrindavana. He came back with Nanda Maharaja as promised. Well, this is just Krishna's mystic skills, abilities. He's always and everywhere, in everything. The only thing that is left is to understand it, and it's not so easy. When Krishna was starting for Mathura on the chariot driven by Akrura, and the gopis were blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He will come back to Vrindavana. He told them not to be overwhelmed and in this way pacify them. But when he failed to come back with Nanda Maharaja, it appeared that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. These were the circumstances. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises. Krishna in his original identity returned with Nanda Maharaja and stayed with the gopis and Mother Yashoda in his Bhava expansion. You see how many forms he has? That's what it says, Ananta Rupa, limitless forms. We don't even comprehend them. We only perceive these forms as three-dimensional. form. So we have this material representation, understanding. So you take some space here, but if it's everywhere, it must not be just a simple form, just like Paramatma, something that is formless. So this is the very beginning. What for? Just because, so that we don't identify Krishna with a definite form. So whatever I take a look at, I give it a name. Clock, table, pictures, room, chandelier. You see, it happens automatically. How do I get rid of all these notions that I'm thinking, that I'm sensing, because of which I start acting in this world? And also I give some notion to myself. How do I get out of it? Get out of this trap of notions. First, Brahman. So this is all temporary, illusory. Everything I give names to, it's all an illusion. These are not my permanent relations with it. All this is situated right now in a solid thing. Brahman consciousness, it takes your mind away from these notions. So devotees understanding Brahman, they just don't see this variety. So then Paramatma, on this level you see more. Again, in Brahman, because Paramatma includes Brahman. Sometimes when devotees tell about Paramatma, they forget that Brahman is always there. Aspect of Brahman is included automatically. If you just take a look at it separately, it's not correct. If you realize what Brahman is, all the varieties are included in there as well. So the things, material things are temporary, but the variety is eternal. The soul is the source of a variety. Just like impersonalists say, that rivers, they all flow into the ocean. Liberation from the individuality. But they don't understand what liberation in individuality is. They understand that individuality is separated. They understand that you can only enter Brahman and get liberated, and until it's individual, you cannot get liberation. So that's a controversy for them. So just like Prabhupada says, rivers, they flow into the ocean. Yes, they unite, but still they exist. It all exists always. You see, this cycle doesn't disappear. There's a unity and variety at the same time. That's how you understand more things. But when you achieve Krishna, it says Anantarupa, limitless form, but it's not material anymore, because Paramatma supports all these forms in the material world, and they identify our desires. But his desires, they're not reflected in this material world. So that's why this form is kind of separated from oneness. Here it says, there's another form that you cannot even imagine. It's called Pavarupa. It's in your heart. You may not see Krishna like face to face with all his attributes, but you can see this form in your heart, in the form of Bhava. There are so many forms that he has, so many possibilities to emanate. It's called Anantarupa, a limitless form. So that what confuses impersonalists. They just can't comprehend it.
Как только мы низвели Бога до нашего понимания, это уже выдумка.
When you bring down God to our understanding,
Параманы, параматмы,
this is all fake.
Бхагавана.
This is just the
И
game of the mind.
когда мы созерцаем эту руку, эту форму в сердце у себя, видно изображение.
So when we comprehend this rupa, this form in our heart, we get liberated eventually
Любой, кто
from material
правильно
understanding,
ощущает непосредственно отклик в сердце.
from material perception.
Каждый может любить Кришну. Не будет
Everyone can love Krishna and there will be no controversies between us. In the material world, if someone loves someone else, so there's no place for the third person in here, in these relationships. So there can be only two people in love. There's no place for him, right? Only two people can be in love at the same time. But look at the Krishna's consciousness. It's a totally different thing, because we have contact with God. It's not like you get this, but the other person cannot get it. It's not about the quantity or number, it's about quality. Anyone who's in love with Krishna, he shares this love with everybody else. That's why you understand the fact that he's got so many gopis. Take a look at it with your material eyes. That's why you can't understand it. It's impossible to understand. From our point of view, this is immoral. But on the spiritual platform, there's no such thing like a disadvantage or sin. A soul never has any sins or any false understandings, realizations. Sin does not even exist there in a soul. So Krishna is the source of a limitless love. That's how you have to accept him. Bhavarupa. The whole Vrindavana is pierced by his love. So Krishna can be present in the form of separation, in the form of meeting. You don't even know where he manifests himself more often, because he's all-powerful. So if you see that Krishna has left Vrindavana, he's not there anymore, he's everywhere. He stays everywhere all the time. So Bhavarupa, this form Bhavarupa, it only exists in Vrindavana. This is his special manifestation. He's different because he differs from everything else, and at the same time, he can be different. So only God can be in different places at the same time. So if you say you cannot jump above your head, well, it's not about Krishna. So Krishna and Balarama were not in their initial forms when being in Madhura, but in the shape of Vasudeva and Sankarsana. So these are his first expansions. So Balarama and Vasudeva Sankarsana. The real Krishna and Balarama were in Vrindavana in their Bhava manifestation, whereas in Madhura they appeared in the Prabhava and Vaibhava expansions. This is the expert opinion of advanced devotees of Krishna. Externally, however, they were absent from Vrindavana. Therefore, when Nanda Maharaja was preparing to return to Vrindavana, there was some discussion between him and the boys concerning how they could live in separation. Vasudeva and Devaki, who appeared to be the real parents of Krishna and Balarama, wanted to keep them now because of the death of Kamsa. While Kamsa was alive, Krishna and Balarama were kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaja in Vrindavana. You see how Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj weren't happy When Kamsa was killed, everyone was happy except for them. So probably they thought about it. Why was Kamsa killed? If you hadn't been killed, Krishna would have been with us right now. So that's what Kunti says. When there's a problem, you are with us. So let the problem exist. So and naturally, the father and mother of Krishna and Balarama wanted them to remain, specifically for the reformatory function of purification, the sacred thread ceremony. So they were dreaming about it, because from their point of view, the Kshatras, the highest class, Brahmins and Kshatras, so that's why they had this responsibility. A child has to get some skaras, it's compulsory. Otherwise, according to the holy scriptures, he remains to be Shudras, and no parents wanted it to happen. So you have to go through these purification ceremonies. Otherwise, the society will not accept this child. So if you don't study at school, the society will not accept you. Whom are you going to become? They also wanted to give them a proper education, for this is the duty of the father. Another consideration was that all the friends of Kamsa outside Mathura were planning to attack Mathura. For that reason, also Krishna's presence was required. Krishna did not want Vrindavana disturbed by enemies like Dandavakra and Jarasana. If he had come to Vrindavana, everyone would have attacked Vrindavana. That's why Krishna remained to be in Mathura. So there's an army, Kshatras, such considerations. If Krishna were to go to Vrindavana, these enemies would not only attack Mathura, but would go on to Vrindavana, and the peaceful inhabitants of Vrindavana would be disturbed. So Krishna therefore decided to remain in Mathura, and Nanda Maharaj went back to Vrindavana. So Krishna was taking care of everybody else. Although the inhabitants of Vrindavana felt separation from Krishna, the resultant ecstasy, bhava, caused them to perceive that Krishna was always present with them by his lila, or pastimes. So in this case also means plus, even more cute. So when we recall some person that we respect very much, we remember these very specific moments. They still remain in our mind, in our memory. You know what they say, what the adults say? It was so nice when I was a little boy or girl. So ask a child, children, they always say, no, I want to grow up as soon as possible. Adults can do everything they want. I want to grow up. But we think, oh, it was so nice when I was a child. Since Krishna had departed from Vrindavana and gone to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavana, especially Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaja, Srimati Radharani, the gopis and the Karhan boys, were simply thinking of Krishna at every step. They were thinking, here Krishna was playing in this way, and here Krishna was blowing his flute, and Krishna was joking with us in this way, and Krishna was embracing us like this. So this is called Lila Smarana. And it's the process of association with Krishna most recommended by great devotees. So Smarana means with help of mind. And it's the process of association with Krishna most recommended by great devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya, when he was in Puri, enjoyed Lila Sramana, association with Krishna. So Lila Smarana means it doesn't matter where Krishna is right now, either in your heart or in your mind. So you have to keep Krishna deep in your heart. So factually, it starts happening from your heart. You cannot keep many thoughts in your mind for a long time, it's impossible. We try to listen to Hare Krishna mantra, but anyway, our mind takes us away. But if it's in your heart, this is like a screen. So it goes out from there. It's nothing in the external world. So this Leelas, pastimes of Krishna, manifested in this world, only devotees can comprehend them. So, for example, when we started discussing how could Krishna break his promise, he should have come back. Only a devotee can explain it. So demon would start accusing. Like, look, he hasn't stuck to his promise. That's what materialists perceive it. That's the way they perceive it. But devotees, they say, no, wait a second. We'll explain it right now. What had happened, because Krishna is perfect, because they love Krishna. They can understand him in a correct way. The one who identifies Krishna with a normal person, with an ordinary person, see, in Madhura inhabitants, they have this habit because they try to copy Krishna, his external things, but pure devotees, they never copy Krishna. A pure devotee, he never breaks his promises. He understands that Krishna always sticks to his promises. That's why Krishna says, Krishna, he just does it in a different way. It seems like he had broken his promise, but he hadn't. So that's why Krishna says, Arjuna, say that no devotees will die. He gives it just for us. He doesn't need it. It's just for us. So those in the most exalted position of devotional service and ecstasy can live with Krishna always, by remembering his pastimes. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur has given us a transcendental literature entitled Krishna Bhavanamrita, which is full with Krishna's pastimes. Exalted devotees can remain absorbed in Krishna thought by reading such books. Any book of Krishna Lila, even this book, Krishna or Art Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, is actually solace for devotees feeling separation from Krishna. So that means, so there's a sign of an exalted devotee, the one that will be reading these books. Why? Because he feels separation in his heart. On the level of sadhana, we just say, well, you have to read it. That's the instruction of our guru, Srila Prabhupada. But an exalted devotee, he doesn't think that he has to do something. He does it just because of the separation feel. So that's why neophytes and exalted devotees, they do the same thing but differently. They chant the same mantra. That Krishna and Balarama did not return to Vrindavan, it can be adjusted as follows. They did not break their promise to return to Vrindavana, nor were they absent, but their presence was necessary in Mathura. So you see how God works simultaneously. In the meantime, Uddhava, a cousin brother of Krishna's, came to see Krishna from Dwaraka. He was the son of Vasudeva's brother and was almost the same age as Krishna. His bodily features resembled Krishna's almost exactly. After Krishna returned from his teacher's home, he was pleased to see Uddhava, who happened to be his dearmost friend. So Krishna wanted to send him to Vrindavana with the message to the residents to pacify their deep feelings of separation. So you see, Krishna has already spent some time in there, in Mathura, some weeks, maybe months. So some time has already passed. And then Uddhava comes there from Dvaraka. So I think we will have to still think of this detail, because Dvaraka hadn't existed back then. While inhabitants of Mathura were staying there, Dvaraka wasn't built yet. Probably this place was called Dvaraka back then. But I think we have to think about it more to figure this out. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very responsive. He responds in proportion to the devotee's advancements in devotional service. Thus, as gopis were thinking of Krishna in separation 24 hours a day, so Krishna was also always thinking of the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaja, and the other residents of Vrindavana. Although he appeared to be away from them, he could understand how they were transcendentally aggrieved, so he immediately wanted to send Uddhava to give them a message of solace. Uddhava is described as the most exalted personality in the Vrishni dynasty, being almost equal to Krishna. Well, Uddhava's glory is almost indescribable. So he was the disciple of Brihaspati. He's like factually his demigod. He even resembled Krishna visually. Sometimes he was confused, his appearance even by Gopi. Even gopis sometimes thought that it was Krishna. So the same garlands, clothing, movements, pastimes actually was like second Krishna. Why? Because he was pierced by this love so much. So he was the closest friend of Krishna beyond Vrindavana. He could understand everything in Krishna, of course. That's an understandable thing. No one of us can understand Krishna fully. So Krishna was also a mystery for him. So Krishna has decided to open some mystery of his nature by sending him to Vrindavana. So just to give gopis a solace. So but the initial purpose was to open some kind of a secret and mystery for Uddhava. Because Uddhava, he's always in this passionate desire to serve Krishna and comprehend him. So that's why Krishna opens his secrets to his most loved devotees. That's why he sends Uddhava to Vrindavana, so that he could understand Krishna even more. So usually a disciple is sent to a guru, so the spiritual master gives him some explanations. So Krishna usually sends his friends to spiritual masters, so that the disciple understands more. And in this case, gopis were playing Guru Tattva for Uddhava, but he didn't know that. He was just going there to serve Krishna. He didn't even know what his lesson would be. He was a great friend of Krishna's, and being the direct student of Brihaspati, the teacher and priest of the heavenly planets, he was very intelligent and sharp in decision. So you see, Uddhava has never made any mistakes. So there are two types of living entities, just like it says in Bhagavad Gita, the ones who make mistakes and the ones who don't. So Uddhava has never made any mistakes. Intellectually, he was highly qualified. Krishna, being his very loving friend, wanted to send Uddhava to Vrindavana just to study the highly elevated ecstatic devotional service practiced there. Even if one is highly elevated in material education and is even the disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavana how to love Krishna to the highest degree. It was Krishna's special favor to Uddhava to send him to Vrindavana with a message for the residents there, which was meant to pacify them. Well, Krishna didn't say anything about it to Uddhava, just go there and study. He said, no, just go there and pass this message. So Uddhava felt himself to be responsible for sending some message. At the same thing, Krishna said, don't preach, just read my letter. So Uddhava didn't quite understand what he was supposed to do in Vrindavana after he would read the letter. So that's how Krishna put him in this interesting position. Lord Krishna is also named Hari, which means one who takes away all distress from the surrendered souls. Lord Chaitanya states that there cannot at any time be worship as exalted as that realized by the gopis. Being very anxious about the gopis' grief, Krishna talked with Uddhava and politely requested him to go to Vrindavana. Shaking Uddhava's hand with his own hands, he said, my dear gentle friend Uddhava, please go immediately to Vrindavana and try to pacify my father and mother, Nanda Maharaja and Yashoda Devi, and the gopis. They are grief-stricken as if suffering from great ailments. Go and give them a message. I hope their ailments will be partially relieved. The gopis are always absorbed in thoughts of me. They have dedicated body, desire, life and soul to me. I am anxious not only for the gopis, but for anyone who sacrifices society, friendship, love and personal comforts for me. It is my duty now to protect such exalted devotees. The gopis are the most dear. They always think of me in such a way that they remain overwhelmed and almost dead in anxiety due to separation from me. They are keeping alive simply by thinking that I am returning to them very soon. So that's what Krishna has said to Uddhava. But one thing, he said it. The other thing is, when Uddhava saw it with his own eyes, he understood why he was sent to Vrindavana. Because Uddhava, he also felt the pain of separation. Well, he was behaving as insane, actually. He seemed to me that he understood what Krishna was saying, but this was something else, actually. So, having heard what Krishna said, Uddhava immediately left on his chariot and carried the message to Gokula. He approached Vrindavana at sunset, when the cows were returning home from the pasturing ground. Uddhava and his chariot were covered by the dust raised by the hooves of the cows. He saw bulls running after cows for mating, other cows with overladen milk bags were running after the calves to feed them with milk. Uddhava saw that the entire land of Vrindavana was filled with white cows and their calves, running here and there all over Gokula. And he could hear the sound of milking. Every residential house in Vrindavana was decorated for the worship of the sun god and the fire god, and for the reception of guests, cows, brahmanas and demigods. Every home was sanctified by lights and incense. All over Vrindavana There were nice gardens filled with flowers and the sounds of humming bees and singing birds. The lakes were filled with lotus flowers and with dogs and swans. So Uddhava entered the house of Nanda Maharaja and was received as a representative of Vasudeva. Nanda Maharaja offered him a sitting place and sat down with him to ask about messages from Krishna, Balarama and other family members in Mathura. He could understand that Uddhava was a very confidential friend of Krishna's and therefore must have come with good messages. My dear Uddhava, he said, how's my friend Vasudeva enjoying life? He's not released from the prison of Kamsa, and he's not with his friends and his children, Krishna and Balarama. So he must be very happy. Tell me about him and his welfare. We are also very happy that Kamsa, the most sinful demon, has been killed. He was always envious of the family of the Yadus, his relatives. Now, because of his sinful activities, he is dead and gone alone with all his brothers. You see what Uddhava saw is described there. Dusty road, there's a lot of dust. You see this dust had just covered all the chariot. So there were some gardens in there. Everything was covered with vegetation. There were many snow-white cows. The Vrindavana was very beautiful. It seemed to be a very beautiful place. Visually. Everything was just perfect. So Nanda Maharaj is asking about Krishna. It's also, a normal thing. How's Krishna doing? How's Vasudeva and Devaki doing? How are they doing? Being liberated from the prison? Just like a normal thing. Please let us know whether Krishna now remembers his father and mother, and his friends and companions in Vrindavana. Does he like to remember his cows, his gopis, his Govardhana hill, his pasturing grounds in Vrindavana? Or he had forgotten everything about it? Is there any possibility of his coming back to his friends and relatives so we can again see his beautiful face, with its raised nose and lotus-like eyes? We remember how he saved us from the forest fire, how he saved us from the great snake Kaliya in the Yamuna, and now he saved us from so many other demons, and we simply think of how much we are obliged to him for giving us protection in many dangerous situations. My dear Uddhava, when we think of Krishna's beautiful face and eyes and his different activities here in Vrindavana, we become so overwhelmed that all our activities cease. So listen carefully. So Vrindavan looks... How can it look so beautiful? And everybody had just forgotten about everything that they were doing. We simply think of Krishna, how he used to smile and how he looked upon us with grace. When he go to the banks of the Yamuna, or the lakes of Vrindavana, or near Govardhana hill, or the pasturing fields, we see that the impressions of Krishna's footprints are still on the surface of the earth. We remember him playing in those places because he was constantly visiting them. When his appearance within our minds becomes manifest, we immediately become absorbed in thought of him. So sometimes we think that Krishna and Balarama may be chief demigods in heaven, who have appeared before us like ordinary boys to execute particular duties on earth. So this was foretold by Garga Muni when making Krishna's horoscope. If Krishna were not a great personality, how could he have killed Kamsa, who possessed the strength of 10,000 elephants? Besides Kamsa, there were the very strong wrestlers as well as the giant elephant Guvalayapida. Krishna killed all these animals and demons just as a lion kills an ordinary animal. How wonderful it is that Krishna took in one hand the big, heavy bow made of 3 joint palm trees and broke it very quickly. How wonderful it is that for 7 days continuously he held up Govardhana hill with one hand. How wonderful it is that he has killed all the demons like Pralambasura, Dhenukasura and Arishtasura, Trinatavarta and Bakasura. They were so strong that even the demigods in the heavenly planets were afraid of them, but Krishna killed them as easily as anything. While describing the uncommon activities of Krishna before Uddhava, Nanda Maharaja gradually became overwhelmed and could no longer speak. As for Mother Yashoda, she sat by the side of her husband and heard the pastimes of Krishna without speaking. She simply cried incessantly and milk poured from her breast. When Uddhava saw Maharaja, Nanda and Yashoda so extraordinarily overwhelmed with thoughts of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he experienced their extraordinary affection for him, he also became overwhelmed and spoke. My dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaja, you are most respectable among human beings because no one but you can meditate in such transcendental ecstasy. Some other places it is described that when Maharaja recalled Krishna and Uddhava, he just went away, he just lied down in bed because of the grief. And Uddhava saw that the pillow that Nanda Maharaj was resting on, it got soaked with his tears immediately. So Uddhava continued, Balarama and Krishna are the original personalities of Godhead, from whom the cosmic manifestation emanates. They are chief among all personalities. Each of them is both the material and the efficient cause of this material creation. Material nature is conducted by the Purusha incarnations, who will act under Krishna and Balarama. But the partial representation, they enter the hearts of all living entities. They are the source of all knowledge and all forgetfulness. This is confirmed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. I am present, he says, in everyone's heart and I cause one to remember and forget. I am the original compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the actual knower of the Vedas. Uddhava gives him all this information that Krishna is the source of everything. So the dwellers of Vrindavana, they do not study Shastras. It's like an obstacle for them. Remembering that Krishna is God is an obstacle for that. But Uddhava thinks, what's the other way of comforting them? So Uddhava continued, if at the time of death a person can fix his pure mind upon Krishna, even for a moment, after giving up his material body, he becomes eligible to appear in his original spiritual body, just as the sun rises with all illumination. Passing from his life in this way, he immediately enters into the spiritual kingdom, Vaikunta. So see, he said that Krishna is limitless, he is the source of all creation, and you should be always thinking about him. That's how you can get back home. So this is the result of Krishna conscious practice. If we practice Krishna consciousness in our present body, while in a healthy condition and in good mind, simply by chanting the holy Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, we will have every possibility of fixing the mind upon Krishna at the time of death. If we do this, then our lives become successful without any doubt. But if we keep our minds always absorbed in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, then naturally, at the time of death, we shall think of such activities and again be forced to enter material, conditioned bodies to suffer the threefold miseries of material existence. Therefore, to remain always absorbed in Krishna consciousness was the standard of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, as exhibited by Maharaja Nanda, Yashoda and the gopis. So we can simply follow in the footsteps, even to a minute proportion, our lives will surely become successful, and we shall enter the spiritual kingdom, Vaikuna. You see, it says even to a minute proportion. Of course, we are not able to develop such a consciousness right now these days, but we have to aspire for that. Lord Chaitanya has given us everything that we need, very much. So we should just give it a try, even a little bit. Since all the inhabitants of Vrindavana, visually, externally, they were leading very pious lives, very decorated lives, but it turns out they were doing everything automatically, not consciously. Before this, they were doing everything for Krishna. That's why they were prospering. But then when Krishna left, they were doing it just automatically. So they were not interested in that. Or just while doing it, they were just remembering Krishna. That was the real purpose. So just imagine a well-decorated city, everything is so wonderful, beautiful, but no one is even interested in that. No one is interested in that because there's no Krishna in there. So dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaja Sudava continued, you have thus fixed your minds wholly and solely upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, whose transcendental form is the cause of impersonal Brahman. The Brahman effulgence is only the bodily rays of Narayana. And because you are always absorbed in ecstatic thought of Krishna and Balaram, what pious activity remains for you to perform? I brought a message from Krishna that he will very soon come back to Vrindavana and satisfy you by his personal presence. So he promises it, but first of all he has to continue all that he needs to do in Madhura. So that's why I'm asking both of you not to miss Krishna. So this will definitely help them. This will definitely help them that Krishna had promised them to come back. So in your thinking and your thoughts, you never forget about Krishna because he's there always. Just like there's a fire somewhere hidden, you cannot see it. So Krishna, he sees no one as his enemy, no one as his friend, and no one as lower or higher than him. He actually has no father, mother, brother, or relative. Nor does he require society, friendship, and love. He does not have a material body like us. He never appears or takes birth like an ordinary human being. He does not appear in higher or lower species of life like ordinary living entities, who are forced to take birth on account of their previous fruitive activities. He appears by his internal potency just to give protection to his devotees. He is never influenced by the modes of material nature, but when he appears within this material world, he seems to act like an ordinary living entity under the spell of the modes of material nature. But in fact, he is the overseer of this material creation, and while remaining unaffected by the material modes of nature, he creates, maintains, and dissolves the whole cosmic manifestation. We only look upon Krishna and Balarama as ordinary human beings, just as whirling men see the whole world whirling around them. It's not so. The personality of Godhead is no one's son. He's actually everyone's father, mother, and supreme controller. There is no doubt of this. Whatever is already being experienced, whatever is not being experienced, whatever already exists, does not exist, or will exist in the future, the smallest and whatever is the biggest have no existence outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything rests in Him, but He is untouched by everything manifested. So that's Nanda and Uddhava. They were talking about it the whole night, discussing Krishna. In the morning, the gopis prepared for morning arati by lighting their lamps and sprinkling butter mixed with yogurt. After finishing the Mangala Arati, they engaged themselves in churning butter from yogurt. While the gopis were thus engaged, the lamps reflected on the ornaments, made the ornaments still brighter. The churning rods, the arms, the earrings, the bangles, the breasts, everything moved. And kumkuma powder gave their faces a saffron luster comparable to the rising sun. While making sounds of churning, they also sang the glories of Krishna. The two sound vibrations mixed together ascended to the sky and sanctified the whole atmosphere. After sunrise, the gopis came as usual to offer their respects to Nanda Maharaja and Yashoda. But when they saw the golden chariot of Uddhava at the door, they began to inquire among themselves, what was the chariot and to whom did it belong? Some of them inquired whether Akrura, who had taken away Krishna, had returned. They were not very much pleased with Akrura because, being engaged in the service of Kamsa, he had taken lotus-eyed Krishna away to the city of Mathura. All the gopis conjectured that Akrura might have come again to fulfill another cruel plan. With that thought, we are now dead bodies without our Supreme Master Krishna. What further act can Akrura perpetrate against these dead bodies? While they were talking in this way, Uddhava finished his morning ablutions, prayers and chanting and came before them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 46th chapter of Krishna. Uddhava visits Vrindavana. So we have finished this chapter, the way that Uddhava came to Vrindavana. So the next chapter will be the chapter number 46, delivery of the message of Krishna to the gopis. So there's a question, how do I stop being so arrogant? How do I understand that we are all a particle of God? So you have to learn Krishna, so you have to study Krishna. It was just describing here. He does not think of anyone being higher or lower than him. We said that there's no one higher than Krishna, but it's not enough to understand it. So Krishna says that there's no one lower higher. We worship deities. We also worship deities. It's just his deities are his pure devotees, and our deities are Krishna. So when you get scared while even thinking of separation with Krishna, just first of all you have to figure out who Krishna is. What can you even understand being separated with him? How can you even understand this separation if you haven't understood Krishna yet? We're still trying to understand our soul. You see, you don't even start talking about separation. It's too soon. So you said that neophyte from a devotee is different in the taste. So there's a different taste. So, like, the point is that I can spread books, I can talk to devotees, but I have no desire to read books, like individually. When if you're ready, that's enough for you just to hear a voice of a pure devotee, even if you don't understand what it is. Prabhupada was like that. Well, not only Prabhupada, any sincere devotee. You can just feel taste by listening to other devotees, even without understanding everything he said.
Я слушал по 8 часов Бхактисиданта Сарасвати.
So Prabhupada was listening to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for 8 hours a day.
8 часов. Бхактисиданта Сарасвати проповедовал
8 hours.
постоянно.
Because his teacher was preaching all the time.
Вспоминает, говорит, я не всё
So
понимал.
Prabhupada said that I couldn't understand everything he was saying because he was a really big scholar, a great scholar. I couldn't understand everything he was saying, but I just simply loved his voice. You see, you already have this taste because of the contact. If this devotee is sincere, he will always feel this taste. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that Akul and Sahadeva was born from Panda and his second wife. Weren't they the sons of demigods?
Да, ну, нет, подождите, надо вспомнить сейчас эту историю.
Wait, hold on a second. I think we have to recall this story.
Извините.
So yeah, they're demigods, they're twins.
Когда Кунти получила
When Kunti,
у Махараджи Панды было проклятие, что он умрет.
so Panda, Maharaj Panda was cursed that if he has intimate relations with any of his wives, he would die. Right? But then he died because of this reason.
Поэтому Кунти вызвала полубогов.
That's why Kunti,
Сам Панду.
she summoned demigods. Panda himself
Кунти
asked her to do it.
вызывать полубогов.
He asked her to summon demigods and to have children
Полубоги, управляющие природой.
on behalf of the demigods. Demigods controlling this, the whole nature. So all these sons, they were considered to be the sons of Pandu
Потому что здесь были не люди замешаны, а полубоги.
because it was not
Не путайте, пожалуйста.
humans' children. Please do not mix up demigods with people. You see, materialists, they mix it up all the time. So these relationships are way different. We don't have these relationships these days. For example, the relationships with demigods. So Draupadi, in her previous life, she was worshipping Shiva. When Shiva appeared in front of her, so she was so excited by the appearance of Shiva and she wanted to get a good husband so much. So she started asking him, so give me husband, give me husband, give me husband, 5 times in a row. And Shiva said, okay, you have it. Remember what happened? Draupadi had 5 husbands. You're responsible for every of your thoughts, for everything you say, so do not confuse these things. So they were the sons of Pandu. So this is the right thing to think. The nature is controlled by demigods. So who is this son? For example, you say this is mine, but it's controlled by nature, by demigods. So they come only on special occasions. For example, they went down to Kunti because this was a specific occasion. And even Kunti, when they summoned the god of sun, you see, she did it just out of curiosity. But demigods, they don't just go down out of curiosity. They've been so busy doing something, and if they go down, it must be something very serious. Otherwise, they're not gonna walk here and there. So Kunti, so Surya said that ask for whatever you want. Not the sun that we see, but Surya, the god that is in charge of controlling the sun. So he came down and said, like, what did you want? And Kunti said, no, I didn't want to have anything. I just wanted to check if this mantra works. I just double checked. But this experiment, it wasn't an easy trick actually. Surya said, I can't just go back. I'm thinking about the benefit of all the living entities. I will remain my son for you. and he will be very powerful on this planet. But she got very afraid. So how can I go on living? What should I tell to my father and tell my family? I'm a lady. So because I have to be an example of pureness. Just like Draupadi, she has to be an example of pureness. Otherwise, the whole kingdom will just get destroyed. How can you tell me such a thing? But this demigod said, no, I will not touch you, you will still remain pure, intact. You have to understand this thing. So when Kunti started summoning demigods to have children, so Yudhishthira from Yamaraj, then Vayu from Bhimasena. I mean, Bhimasena came from Vayu, the god of wind. Then Arjuna. And when Madri saw that, she also wanted to have these children. So that's what I remember. I might be mistaken, but Madri, she also wanted these children, and she asked Kunti to summon, to ask for some more children. So that's why these twins came up. So what's the high purpose that a devotee should set for himself? How do I remember my purpose all the time? Well, you will deepen your memory. Now you just have to do it constantly, on a regular basis. So constantly sounds a little bit artificially, because you can't be thinking of Krishna 24/7. A person might not be ready for that, but just do it on a regular basis. So that's how it comes to you. If you want to do something constantly, try doing it on a regular basis. If you drink some medicine, it remains in your body constantly. But you don't have to drink this medicine constantly, you do it on a regular basis. But eventually it fills up your organism and remains there. Also Hare Krishna mantra, your dose is 16 rounds. 4 regulative principles. You do this and eventually it fills you. Fills you up. So for example, if yesterday I didn't manage to chant all 16 rounds, can I do it all today? What if I have some debts, like chanting debts? Well, yes, in this case you just have to finish chanting your rounds the next day. So please, but do not make it a rule. It's a degradation in this case. Do not allow yourself to do this anymore. I mean, sometimes, but not on a regular basis. But please treat it very responsibly. Everything becomes from your japa weakening. So all these troubles and difficulties, they all start from weakening japa. The weaker the japa, the more distractive your mind is. When it's difficult for you to repeat mantra, the less taste you have. The less taste, the more disadvantages and sins. So you see what consequences you would have. It's all about responsibilities. 16 rounds every day. If you don't chant mantra, well, this day you will feel bad. Well, there are some other reasons. You get sick, for example, something had happened to you that didn't allow you to chant. But anyway, you have to finish chanting all these rounds the next day. You have to feel bad because it's happening. That you even get to such situations. That means that probably something is not right with you. But so you have to think about it. You have to be responsible for that. So I have to be worth it. start self-realizing yourself. This is connected with the chanting of Krishna's holy names. That's why you have to treat it very seriously. What do I do to become a devotee? To associate with devotees. You are already a particle of Krishna, you just have to recall it, remember that. Everyone in his heart wants to become a pure devotee. How do I practice my spiritual life in the frame of sadhana? So prayer is something that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, and other things, like 4 principles. So Vandaman is a spontaneous devotional service. The first 3, Sadhanam, Shravanam and Kirtanam, Smaranam. So this is our sadhana. But the next one is a spontaneous one. It starts with the prayer. So it has to come on the surface by itself. This praying state of mind. So it comes out of this first 4 principles. So when doing it, you might recall who Krishna is. You become very submissive by seeing how Krishna is great, how pure he is, how merciful he is, and all his different qualities. And then in this submissive state of mind, this person renders his prayers to Krishna, because of course he needs Krishna's help. When he sees such qualities of Krishna, so a prayer, it also includes glorifying. Yes, we've read about it in the book Krishna, when demigods pray in other devotees. Every prayer, as a result, ends with some with a devotee asking for someone. So the qualities of Krishna, they invokes praying. In the material world, when we pray, we ask for something. It's a usual thing. So I glorify God first and then I ask for something. So please give me some health or this or that. So that's how it works in the material world. That's how this prayer is perceived in the material world. But Prabhupada says that it should happen spontaneously, coming straight from your heart. So only then you can ask for something, because this will be pure. It's just for our benefit. So Dhruva Maharaj said that I don't want to ask for anything, I just want to glorify you, and that's it. So this was the real prayer. How much is it important to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day? It's not like it's a habit of reading Prabhupada's books. Well, it's a good habit. It's just a habit, to read books. They just like doing it. Think about something, reading, flipping pages. Readable people, reading people. They just swallow books. But this is what we do just because we need to hear about Krishna. If we don't have this interest and we don't read on a regular basis, of course we have to work on this habit. But this is just a habit, a skill. Just to, for 45 minutes during the class in the school. When I first went to school, they told us you have to sit quietly for 45 minutes, and I thought to myself, like, oh my God, that's just impossible. So kids were like, "Can I please go out? Can I please go out?" And I thought to myself, how is it even possible to sit for 45 minutes? This was like a torture for us. But then, 2-3 hours every day doing something, we got this habit, like a skill. So when you sit at your desk, you automatically continue sitting. By the 5th grade, we had already mastered this skill. We didn't even pay attention. But before this, everyone just wanted to leave the class at every possible occasion. And we can have the same habit. So you take your rosaries and you start chanting. It's a skill, it's not a taste yet, but it's a good skill. And you already have some interest in it, some curiosity. At least you do understand that you're not wasting your time while chanting. It doesn't trouble you that you're wasting your time. Materialists, they're so worried about it, like you're wasting 2 hours of your life. But you, a devotee, you do understand that you're not wasting your time at all. But then, based on this discipline, on this skill, eventually your interest will wake up and you start reading Prabhupada's books, passage by passage. So I had a little revelation, probably it was in Mayapur, maybe Vrindavana. I think Vrindavana. Srila Prabhupada's room, there's a museum, all his clothing is still there, his murti. So he's sitting there, he's either reading or writing. So I was chanting japa there. So I saw senior devotees, they chant japa in Srila Prabhupada's room because the atmosphere is unique in there. You can feel it. So I also wanted to feel the presence of Prabhupada. I took a seat, I started chanting. And at some moment, I felt internally that I was actually talking to Prabhupada. I felt his presence. And I had a spontaneous question. It wasn't like a problem or something. What else can I do for you, Prabhupada? You see, I'm preaching, I'm spreading books, I write books as well. I take something from your books and I continue. So what else can I do? So always if there's a contact, there will be an answer. And I didn't even understand this moment back then. But it was as if Prabhupada was reading a book, his murti. And it's like I felt, but it's very subjective, of course. So Prabhupada took a magnifying glass and he started reading the book. So back then I didn't understand what it was. But once I left the room, I was struck. So I have to read Prabhupada's books using magnifying glass, to do it very carefully, very attentively. And I still try to do it. Up until now. Well, this is my subjective experience. I'm not telling that this is reality, but this is my subjective experience of communicating to Prabhupada. And it helps me to render devotional service. Just as when you feel Krishna, you may have this phenomena as well. So if chanting and singing unattentively, can it lead to something kind of bad, to raising your ego? It might happen when you do it automatically
процесс.
when you've launched the process.
Но если вы взяли неправильный курс,
But if you've taken the wrong course, this would lead you automatically to some problems.
там они, что есть два вида
So there are two types
намабхаса.
of namaphasa,
Шрада и ашрада.
Shraddha and Ashraddha.
Шрада намабхаса — это воспевание
Shraddha namaphas means chanting with belief, with faith. Ashraddha means without faith.
Вот шрада намабхас приводит к бхакти,
Shraddha namaphas leads you to bhakti, to prema, automatically.
а шрада намабхас приводит к майяваде, автоматически.
Ashavana means to Mayavadi,
Чем больше вы повторяете в этом
to
безверии,
offending. So the more you chant
что вы
without having the real faith that you are an eternal servant of Krishna,
безверие,
if you do it without faith, so the more your false ego is growing, the sense of superiority.
управлять, централизовывать, вы только об этом и думаете.
So you want to control, you want to centralize. All that you think is just about that. So if I read Srila Prabhupada's book just because out of my duty, isn't it an offense?
Это правильно.
It's not offense. This is the right path. So the true knowledge should lead me to real realization. But when reading Prabhupada's book, sometimes I feel this false ego that I am better than the others. You have to keep in mind that you are just the servant of Krishna. Everyone is serving, every living entity. Prabhupada says so. Take a look at every person. You will not find any person who is not serving to anyone else. Husbands, wives, workers. But you know what they think? They think that I'm a lord of this wife. She thinks that I am the lord of this husband. And I'm the president of this country. Like the host. Like the master. So the problem is in that. So not to think this way, you need to understand that I'm servant of Krishna. To do that, you have to have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While I don't believe Krishna, I cannot be with him. I still will have doubts. That's the problem.
Есть ответ или нет? Иди. Нет, я тебя спрашиваю вопрос. Да? Что же за инициация?
So what do we do if devotees, they leave Krishna's consciousness and then they get initiated?
Эту инициацию, чтобы ученик критиковал.
But he still keeps criticizing everybody else. Well, if you're initiated, you only have to spread Krishna's consciousness. So there's a question.
Не отвечу на первый, потому что сразу возникнет вопрос. Ну, как Прабхупада тоже критиковал, да?
So listen, I still want to give a full response to the previous question about criticizing devotees or gurus of ISKCON. Think that they don't have this qualification.
Почему отчасти? Потому что должны делать и вторую вещь успешно проповедовать.
So there's another thing. You have to preach successfully about Krishna's consciousness. That's how everyone can understand that this is the true guru and this is not a true guru. If you don't preach successfully Krishna's consciousness, just criticizing someone else, this is a false ego. A real initiation mainly means that you speak about Krishna. This is the main thing. And you have to be successful if you are already initiated. That's what Prabhupada said. You have to be persuasive, influencing. If you have these qualities, people will listen to you. You will not have to criticize anyone. They will be attracted by you. Then it's okay. Criticize only if you can give a better example. If you can't, stop criticizing. It's a false initiation.
Как к ним относиться? Ну,
And how do we treat such devotee? Well, if he criticizes,
будете
what can we
общаться,
do?
близко, вы тоже будете критиковать.
If you associate with this devotee closely, you will also start criticizing other devotees. So in what way are your devotees, like your exalted devotees, different from other devotees?
Просто это не всем видно.
All my devotees, they reach really high success. Sometimes it's not visually seen. There are no chosen ones.
Вы имеете в виду успех стать известным?
You mean the success of becoming a popular, a famous disciple? Well, in this sense, yeah, none of them become so popular. But I'm not very interested in these aspects. Either my devotee is popular, not popular. Well, from the point of view of preaching, yes, it's good when a devotee becomes a popular one. What do I do if I want to stick to chanting 16 rounds every day? But I still don't do it correctly.
Один преданный сказал однажды:
So one devotee has said to me once,
я очень много болтаю.
so I talk very much, he says. I need to control my tongue.
Ну так, многие говорят.
I mean, a lot of people
Я
say like that,
только был удивлен,
but I was so surprised
сразу
that once he has said that, he started doing it. So you could see that this person is a serious devotee.
Один из саньяси однажды сказал: я
So one of sannyasis once said that I'm moving very slowly. I'm Prabhupada's disciple and my preaching is not very successful.
я должен взять на себя.
I think I should take some austerity unto myself to get some spiritual power. So he has said it to all of his brothers.
Ну, и я должен стать сильнее.
You see, I have to be stronger, I have to become stronger for Prabhupada, for the sake of Prabhupada.
Ты хочешь делать?
So he was asked, so what is it that you want to do?
Количество пищи, которое ты едишь.
So I think I have to decrease the amount of food that I eat.
Я говорю: «Кто?»
And everybody
Он сказал:
said, are you able to do that?
вот это серьезно.
He said yes. So he said it and
Я не
he
призываю каким-то
did it.
привожу примеры.
See, I'm not saying you that
Не правила для
you have to take some austerities right now.
серьезно должен в своей жизни относиться.
It's all an individual thing.
Серьезно.
So you have to find a way of becoming a serious one. If you cannot control your tongue, become more serious.
С таким языком мы не придем к Кришне.
With such a tongue, you will never reach Krishna.
Единственный способ стать серьезным самому.
The only way is to become serious yourself. So if I still have ambitions and I waste so much time of fulfilling them, how do I get rid of it?
Амбиции есть у всех.
Everyone has ambitions,
Хорошо.
practically everyone.
Знаете свои амбиции, исполняйте.
Well, fulfill your ambitions,
Не забывайте про
but don't forget about devotional service as well. Add Krishna's consciousness to fulfilling your ambitions more and more. But this is a process. You can accept it. Remember what Prabhupada used to say? What's the sense of being called Americans if you cannot do anything useful for Krishna? That's when your ambitions unite. Someone says, I'm an American. Okay, Prabhupada says, so what have you done? Have you done anything amazing, useful? So this was the last question. Okay, the marathon still continues, but it's not finishing yet. The marathon is still going on, probably on its peak. So by the way, the results, they surpass all the expectations. So according to what I have already heard, it's already surpassed all my expectations. So a number of books were taken and everyone had already gone out of these books, had already run out of these books. This is amazing. During this pandemic, we spread so many books. Someone has vowed to spread 2 million books. I'm interested how many he has already spread. So probably they will fulfill all their vows. It's just a miracle. Shila Prabhupada ki jai.